All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pirates Corner podcast. I'm Ryan Miller, back with Josh Ruga once again. And today we have a special guest on. We have Ryan Platt from Twitter. How's it going, Ryan?
Good, you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Going good.
So some of our topics that we're going to talk about are the Pirates management, what they've done in the past 3 weeks, Josh Bell, depth, Colin Moran's defense, Mitch Keller, Chris Stratton in Montana, Michael Feliz, Brian Reynolds, and predictions for the longest road stint of the year. So, Ryan Platt, I'm going to go ahead and throw up your Twitter real fast. It's Ryan2434 for anybody who doesn't follow him. And I know that you wanted to talk about management, but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and go over what the Pirates have done since our last podcast on April 21st. So, after April 21st, they had a very long losing streak, including getting swept by the D-backs at home and then getting swept by the Dodgers on the road. They came back a little bit and took both games from Texas, took 2 out of the 3 from the A's, took 1 out of the 2 from the Rangers at home, and then the most recent series took 3 out of 4 from the Cardinals on the road. We just finished up watching that game. They won 10-6 in a pretty good matchup. So overall, they picked themselves up pretty nicely after their long losing streak.
Yeah, that was 8 games. So one kind of interesting theme we're seeing here is the losses have been pretty bad and a lot of close wins because the pitching staff is really getting it done when they're in position to win. We haven't seen so many blown saves lately. They've kind of ironed out some of the issues in the bullpen. Richard Rodriguez is not being used nearly as much against left-handed batters. They went to Liriano with a left-handed batter due up in a 2-1 ball game yesterday to face a lefty with 2 outs and nobody on because it was a one-run game. Today they let Rich Rod face Colton Wong with the tying run. Colton Wong representing the tying run at the plate. He ended up flying out on a 3-2 pitch. There was a meeting on the mound telling him to pitch really carefully to him, and he did fall behind that count at bat, but he did end up getting the out and getting through the 7th inning cleanly. So,
Ryan, any thoughts on this most recent set of games?
I mean, it was overall pretty good, but today I think outside of Josh Bell, the main key was having Brault settle in and then the rest of the bullpen just keeping it in range until Josh Bell hit that 3-run homer.
Yeah, Chris Stratton, Montana, among company. So, we're going to move on to our next topic, which, Platt, you wanted to talk about the Pirates management. So, I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, thank you. I mean, overall, I think they've done a pretty good job at bringing in players, making trades, stuff like that. I mean, I see a lot of hate for the depth, but I mean, what else do you really want them to do? They knew Polanco was going to be hurt to come into the year. They didn't plan on Dickerson going down in April and having a setback in his rehab. Tyone goes down. He can't for 4 weeks. Archer, I think, is back Wednesday. I'm not too sure on that
Wednesday.
one. I mean, overall, they've done pretty good. All the people that's called up. Cole Tucker's done a pretty good job for the Eric Gonzalez going down. Reynolds has stepped in, doing great. Look at Melky. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think the Pirates management is the best, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah, if you look at what Kevin Newman's done since he came back, he kind of put that 3-error game at Wrigley behind him, and he looks like if Cole Tucker doesn't figure it out within the next couple of weeks, you could send Tucker back to Indy, get him the finishing touches on his development at the minor league level, and have Kevin Newman and one of Nick Franklin or Pablo Reyes pretty much lock down the shortstop position at the big league level, with, of course, Reyes or Franklin playing the super utility role behind Newman. Newman made some really nice plays in the what was that, the 7th inning today?
6th or 7th. He almost threw out that one guy.
Yeah.
Who was that? Was that?
It was a jump throw from deep in the hole, and the throw was just barely beat by the runner, and that was after making 2 slick plays for the first 2 outs in the inning. So that's Newman's part of the depth. The teams had a number of injuries, like somewhere in the high teens visits to the disabled list, or the injured list so far. So questioning their depth is kind of it's counterintuitive because that many injuries isn't precedented for in the big leagues. The Yankees had a significant amount of injuries, and they were struggling early on. I think they got off to an 8-9 start.
I think that their disabled list could probably win a game over their starting lineup right now.
Yeah.
Probably.
At least right now with Archer and Tyone still on the disabled list until Wednesday when Archer returns. So
yeah.
Ryan, you wanted Ryan Platt, that is.
Yeah, there's 2 of them here.
Yeah, Ryan Miller and Ryan Platt on the podcast today. We got the Ryan power going on. Platt, you wanted to talk about Josh Bell and how well he's played so far this season. What you got for me?
I don't think words can describe how happy I am for Josh Bell. He took a lot of heat for his defense over the last couple seasons, and I think he's done tremendously. I don't think people know how hard Josh Bell works on the defensive side. I think he works almost every day out there trying to work on ground balls and work on his throws to second. I think that's been the best outside of his power numbers this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that he's definitely a very hard worker. You told me, I think it was at spring training, both of his parents are college professors, correct?
Well, his dad's like a trainer and his mom is a college professor.
So hard work has been drilled into him all of his life. That's why he's up here in the big leagues and making significant strides towards greatness. And I know there's a lot of talk about it this offseason, about Josh Bell having a breakout season, and I think it's here.
Yeah, we kind of saw him start a little bit slow this season. We're just reminiscing on that before the start of the podcast. He got a bloop single in the first game of the season. Then the second game got rained out. He had that nice line drive single to center to drive in the first game against first run against Sonny Gray in their shutout victory over the Reds in the second game of the season. But the power didn't start to show up until like a week, maybe 2 weeks in. And all of a sudden, we're getting towards the middle of May. He hit his 10th home run today. He has 25% of the team's extra base hits. So if you have 4 players like Josh Bell, then you'd have a lot of extra base hits. So dude's
a lot of home runs too.
Yeah, he's got 10 home runs. There's nobody close to him in home run total so far on the team.
He had 12 last year.
Yes.
Yeah, he had 12 last year. So I don't know how to calculate on pace for.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he keeps this up, he's going to be hitting probably like 40.
Yeah, he's on pace for 35 to 40 home runs right now. So it would be a disappointment if he doesn't get to 30 home runs. I see him easily getting to 30 based on what he's doing right now. And
I think 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
Honestly.
He went he knocked in. Yeah, he went well above 30. He's getting towards the mid-30s in RBIs now. So having that large a percentage. Platt, I saw you had a tweet about how this team would be in last place without Josh Bell. Okay. And
I mean, I think it's a fair assessment at least. I mean, look at what he's done during the course of the season so far. He's been carrying the offense.
Yeah.
And now with Polanco back, he had a really good series. I don't know what the numbers were. I think 7 for 12, I think he was, or something like that. If he continues to do that every series along with Bell, I mean, we're going to be winning a lot of games.
Yeah, it's a formidable middle of the order once the team's healthy. And we've got good news. Corey Dickerson may start a rehab stint sometime this week because he's feeling a lot better with the throwing. So we'll see where that goes if there's a setback. But Brian Reynolds is playing a nice left field. Do you miss Corey Dickerson right now with the way Reynolds is playing?
Reynolds is playing very, very well. And what I will say is I still miss Dickerson, but Reynolds is doing a very good job at filling in for him. And Reynolds could be a guy who turns into a Corey Dickerson type player in the future. Yeah,
he may be, we saw a little bit of good stuff from Jason Martin, but it may be Reynolds is the guy who takes over left field coming up soon. But just to get back to Josh Bell, he's been the man in the middle of the order. Like when there was nobody behind him, he was still hitting. Once he started to find his power surge a few Sundays ago, he was the man against Max Scherzer, driving extra base hits and driving in runs to get a very hard fought victory in that one to win that series. Now Bell, like Platt was saying, he's just been phenomenal defensively recently. So you're seeing every adjustment that he was asked to make this offseason, all of a sudden bearing fruit. Like there's production in that area. And all of this takes time, but to implement that in to the habit cycle so that all of a sudden he's no longer doing the things that were detrimental to his production. He's doing things that are uplifting his production and just going through that process and making it part of his day-to-day. That's why you have Josh Bell looking like one of the best players in baseball so far. So
yeah, I just picked him up on my fantasy team too, and he just got me 17 points. So I think that was a pretty good trade for me. So next topic we're going to talk about is Colin Moran's defense. Made a really nice play today, and Josh wants to point out some numbers on him.
Yeah, so I was looking at what he had compared to last year. So far, he's had a -1 defensive run save coming into today. So that was before the really nice play that he made that may have resulted in a run saved. Last year, he was -8 defensive runs saved overall on the season, and that was with a good finish. His range factors where he was hurt significantly last year. Well, through almost a quarter of the season, he's at -0.01 range rating. So, Platt, you have anything to add on Moran's defense?
I mean, he's looked more comfortable, I think, in the games that he's appeared this season. So, I mean,
and with Jung Ho struggling.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. With Jung Ho struggling, you would think that Moran would get more of the starts now, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, defense is pretty much the only thing that Jung Ho has done well this season. So when he had that bad defensive game in the 14-1 loss to the Athletics last weekend, it was like, this guy's almost useless because he's not hitting. And then when he had a bad defensive game, you're like, oh, wow, this guy doesn't do much for the team. But obviously there's games every day, so he came back. He had a nice bounce-back effort defensively in his next start. He's got 4 home runs, but Moran looks like he's another guy just like Bell, where he had a lot on his plate to start the season. And it's slowly coming together. Since he's been much better in a pinch hit role, I was almost leaning towards Key Bryan coming up as soon as possible, but he's not ready.
No, not yet, at least.
Moran looks like he can hold it down. He had another big RBI extra base hit today. He drove in 2 with that double to the right center gap. So Moran's so calm, cool, and collected. I saw your tweet, or you said something about Moran after making that spectacular play along the third base line. You want to expand on that?
What, mine?
Yeah, your comment regarding his highlight play.
he don't even like show no emotion. Like he makes a dive and play, and it's just staring, and I'm like, at least give me a fist bump or something. But I mean, if he keeps making plays, I mean, he can do whatever he wants, I guess.
Yeah. Like that's hilarious to see because it doesn't look like it almost looks robotic, but.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that what the Pittsburgh fans want from their players? Just to robotically just get the job done.
Do it and
Apparently
leave.
that's it. I mean, I don't know. I liked Moran in the trade when it first happened, and now I'm starting to like him even more with his defense improving, and his bat's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So while we're on the third base topic, I have a question for both of you. If it comes down to it, when it's going to be a very hard 40-man roster decision if somebody gets called up, if we acquire somebody off waivers like we did with Stratton, is there a chance that Jung-Ho gets designated for assignment? Platt, we could start with you.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see it. He looks really bad at the plate. I think it was yesterday. There was I think it was 94 right down the plate, swings right through it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He can't hit off speed either. I don't know. If it came down to it, he's probably the one that would get DFA.
Yeah, because the Pirates management, looking at what they've done so far, they designated Shuck for assignment, which I was kind of up in arms about because he's been playing pretty decent in the field. And they left...
Getting on base.
Yeah, getting on base.
Contributing.
Hustling. I mean, everything...
Valuable role player.
Yeah, valuable role. And we still have him in the organization. But anyway, back to the 40-man rosters. Clay Holmes and Dovidus are still on the 40, which means that they like what they see in both of these guys. Clay Holmes, for me, is a very high on my list player to get designated for assignment. But... as Josh pointed out to me during spring training, Dovidus has done everything that he needed to in spring ball, and he was doing pretty decent at AAA. So, I mean, if it comes down to it, we might see Gung gone. And so, Josh, what are your thoughts on this?
I think the worst of the injury storm is over. So the only 40-man roster management that would have to be done is guys coming back off the injured list.
Yeah. Whether
Whether that's Eric Gonzalez, what to do with him when his time comes up. But that's kind of a little ways down the road. It may be wishful thinking for me to say that. I think the injury storm is over, but how much worse can it get in one season? We're less than a month and a half, and you just look at where it's been. So just to get to the question at hand, Jung-Ho Gung is going to be a candidate to be designated for assignment, but only if they feel comfortable with another, preferably right-handed, third base option to come to the big league level. Whoever that is from AAA, it could be Osuna, it could be Eric Wood. None of those guys really have shown that they deserve another great opportunity. But they both play third base. So.
Jose Osuna's been on the Phantom IL for a little bit now.
Yeah.
He's finally getting some playing time down in AAA. But, yeah, I definitely think that Jung-Ho could be gone by the end of this year. And you never know. If we get a valuable return for possibly Cervelli,
yeah.
I mean, if we do end up trading Cervelli at the deadline or before this year, we could probably see a Major League ready player out of that deal, whether
Possibly.
It's a role guy or something like that.
What I want to get to with that is come July, maybe first week of August, maybe Ke'Bryan Hayes is ready at that point.
I was just going to ask you that. Do you think that he is up this year, or do you think he's strictly next year?
He is playing decent baseball at the plate at AAA right now. He's taken a decent amount of walks. He was striking out some in the early going, at a somewhat alarming rate. That's since slowed down some. He didn't have a hit last night, but he looked like he was really managing his at-bats well. He hit the ball hard a couple of times, and he had 2 walks. I think he was either 0 for 2 or 0 for 3 with 2 walks. And, he scored from second on a wild pitch. So,
okay.
Yeah, the kid's got some speed. I just wanted to point that out because...
well, he's a great defender.
Yeah. And the other option would be another great defender, Will Craig. Taking a look at him back at third base.
With Bell up here slugging,
yeah,
it kind of pushes away Will Craig a little bit, even though he's doing good as well.
Yeah.
So, you want to move on to Mitch Keller?
Well, I just had a couple more things on the third base. So, it would... Yeah, they're going to want to try and get as much value out of Gung till he just becomes a drag on the roster. Just depending on how the coaching's getting through to him, like if he's able to make a breakthrough at the plate, start using the opposite field a little bit more. I don't think he has opposite field base hit. Like he's tried to go that way, but whether it's the adrenaline of the game or not trusting that he can catch up to a pitch and drive it the other way, on a intentionally late opposite field swing. I don't know what the deal is, but he doesn't trust using the opposite field, and he's getting killed because he's out in front of off-speed stuff, okay? He's in his head when he gets a fastball down the middle that he can drive somewhere, so he misses that. He's striking out at a too high a rate. Like that's not part of the identity of this team that they've built over the past couple of seasons. And he's pulling a lot of ground balls to the left side, and they're just easy outs. So yeah. So on to the topic of Mitch Keller.
So this seems to be a topic on Twitter that is getting a lot of different opinions. People are like, okay, let's bring him up now. Let's fix all the issues.
Shout out to Rum Bunter.
Yeah, shout out to Rum Bunter on that one. But with me, I don't think he's ready. He's working on another pitch. He hasn't really used it for a long period of time yet. And he's not doing that great. So I don't understand why you wouldn't go with Kingham over him at this point.
Yeah, so...
Or
Platt,
Stratton now.
Platt, I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of made a point of like providing Twitter, whether it was on the group chat or on Twitter, just very fluent updates in Mitch Keller's last start because of this whole controversy. And I'm telling people, I've been watching every start, and he has one start this year where he's really commanded the fastball, spotted it where he needs to, and with him working on another pitch, I don't see somebody coming up to the big leagues and being successful. It just looks like a recipe for disaster to me. With that in mind, you had a take on this. What you got?
I appreciate all of your updates because, like I said, I don't get to watch every start of his, so I do appreciate your updates here and there. But if he's working on this new slider, why would you rush him up? You're just asking him to fail at that point.
Yeah, disrupting that development.
Yeah, that's like a hitter, trying to work on something else, and you just bring him up. He's just going to be all thrown off, and I think the Pirates fan base just wants. They expect Mitch Keller to be like Kershaw. Like, they think he's this next big guy, which he could be, but you need to not rush his development, because if you rush his development, it's just going to hurt him even more.
Yeah, and his mental preparation is so disrupted right now that his fastball command is the worst it's ever been in his minor league baseball career. There was a couple of broadcasters from that particular start. It was against Stratton earlier this past week, and the broadcasters had watched a start or two of his when he was at Bradenton at Class A Advanced. Okay, and they were commenting on this guy can't spot the fastball, but we saw him a couple of years ago or last year, and he was really good with spotting the fastball. What's going on? The mind's a powerful thing, and if you got your focus divided, areas of strength can kind of erode as you try to work on a certain other area and get that up to speed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening with Mitch Keller right now. And, if you really want to have him have a divided focus, let's focus on my fastball command's been off. I'm getting called up to the big leagues, and I got to implement this slider. So his curveball so far has been an above-average pitch for him. He has the plus fastball, and his changeup is an above-average pitch. But 3-pitch guys that throw just your run-of-the-mill 96-mile-per-hour fastball aren't necessarily guaranteed to be successful starters unless they're really pinpoint dotting the glove with the fastball. So that's where we're at with Mitch Keller, and it probably wouldn't equal big league success. But I am in no way opposed to seeing Mitch Keller in the big leagues this season. But when I feel like, oh, this guy's ready, and I'm watching it, I'll let you know. I'll try and let Neil Huntington know.
Yeah,
well,
just call him and let him know.
I'll text him.
Yeah, in case he wasn't watching himself, just let him know. All right, so
I do have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say his slider and everything is fine, and they're ready to call him up. Do you then move Lyles to the pen, or do you try and trade him?
I would. So this will probably.
It's kind of a tough question for me, at least.
Yeah. This would probably be a situation that unfolds probably more than 2 months from now, so it would probably be right at the trade deadline. And while we were talking about Jung Ho Gung, that situation, and possibly trading Cervelli, do you recall that when they traded for Archer and Keller last year, they also traded David Freese to the Dodgers for a prospect?
Yeah.
So that would have been frowned upon. That would have been like if they had made the playoffs and not had David Freese in the lineup, people and lost like a wild card game or something like that. People would have kind of combed through, picked that out, and been like, "What did they do that for?" And it would become a big issue on the fan. So
yeah,
a big topic. But that's actually a good baseball move. And so what I'm saying is, yes, I would shop Lyles provided he's still pitching well at that point. And it seems like he's really got something going on. And because you do have depth, I still believe in my guy Nick Kingham. And
I know that is your boy.
Yeah, I think he's gonna pitch, give his team a chance to win tomorrow night, and he'll be able to go a few more pitches than he went last time. So hopefully five or six.
Are we late night
innings.
bucking tomorrow night?
Maybe, yeah, because it's a 9:40 start.
Okay, yeah. So Lyles, I don't know if he sticks around past the trade deadline. I agree with both of you guys. If Keller's ready, and Keller shows that he's ready, I mean, he's our top prospect. Throw him in there, see what he can do at the big league level, and if we can get somebody for Lyles, go ahead and kick him out the door, because I would love to build up this farm system. Just think of the Tony Watson trade.
Yeah.
Who knew who Angel Cruz was before that trade?
Exactly.
And then, what, the Dodgers got a half season out of Watson and then he signed somewhere else?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a steal.
The other thing that's a little bit difficult with moving pieces, like potentially acquiring, buying and selling at the trade deadline, is in this scenario that we're kind of unfolding here with Keller coming up, you're not you're not buying, you're just bringing up a top prospect with the intentions of boosting the big league roster. I feel like Neil Huntington has been a little bit gun-shy in terms of having top prospects debut in the middle of a pennant race, which is part of the reason why we didn't see Newman and Kramer sooner last season, even though like there was an argument to be made that Newman, during one of his midsummer hot streaks, should have been brought up to play some shortstop here and there instead of having to acquire a Denny Echeverria and having to watch Jordy Mercer show a lack of range in his old age. So, in baseball years, that is. So
we were talking about Jordy today.
Yeah,
we said on that play that
Newman made the jump
Newman
throw.
got the jump throw on. You know, we would have seen a classic Jordy Mercer dive and then nothing.
Came up about 10 feet short.
Yeah, a step and a dive.
Yeah.
All right, so our next topic is introducing both Chris Stratton and Montana. How do you say his last name?
Do Repo.
Do Repo. Okay, so Chris Stratton, for most of you guys who don't know,
first round draft pick in 2012.
First round draft pick 2012 by the Angels?
The
Giants.
San Francisco Giants.
Giants. We picked him up from the Angels. With the Giants, I have his stats up as well. Last year, he went
pretty.
10-10 with 26 games, 26 of them being starts, 5.09 ERA, 145 innings even, and opponents hit 273 off of him. So, not a great year from him at all. He's never been a top-of-the-rotation starter, but as a 40-man roster piece coming out of the pen, I mean, I'm not completely opposed to him at all. Platt, how do you feel on Chris Stratton?
I mean, it's kind of just... I'm not going to... Even though he's had a rough start, I guess, to the season, I'm not going to bash him. He looked pretty good today.
Yeah.
Didn't allow any runs, so, I mean...
Gave up a leadoff double on a pitch out of the zone. Yeah.
He did give up a leadoff double, but he settled in after that. I thought he did a pretty good job, and most importantly, he kept all the runs off the board.
Yeah, yep. That was huge because I was saying throughout the game, any zeros that this pitching staff can go and dig deep and throw up on the board will give them the momentum because Josh Bell's coming up in the lineup each time around. So, yeah. And top of the sixth inning, I was like, get Josh Bell to the plate this inning because I didn't want to see a situation where Bell came up like with one out and one on, not representing the tying run in the top of the seventh. Well, they ended up going 1, 2, 3. So there's two guys potentially to get on base in front of them in the top of the seventh, and of course, bullet home run to tie it. And the teammates took over from there because Bell was walked his next time around. So
yeah. And so the next guy who we wanted to introduce was Montana Do Repo. And Montana was drafted by the Pirates in the 32nd round of the 2014 MLB draft out of Bethune-Cookman University or college, not quite sure.
Yeah,
but college, okay. So Montana, he moved up the ranks pretty nicely. In 2014, he was with Short Season A-Ball. In 2015, he was with West Virginia Power, Bradenton, and Altoona, all in the same season. Granted, he only pitched in 2 games with Altoona, but had a really nice year with Bradenton. He went 4-1 with a 1.4 ERA in 51 in the third innings. So he did very nicely for himself during that 2015 season.
yeah,
2016, he spent the whole year with Altoona, had a pretty nice year, 3.65 ERA in 49 and a third innings. And then 2017, he finally moved up to, I was going to say indie ball, independent, why did I say independent? Indianapolis.
yeah.
After a strong start,
League.
yeah, International League. After a strong start with the Curve, move up to the Indians. Had a decent year after that. And then 2018, the beginning of it was all right, but the end of it was pretty rough. And something I want to point out is this guy missed some time because he was suspended because he failed a drug test.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, his stats in the minors look pretty good. Most of his ERAs have 1 in it, so decent player. I mean, 32nd round draft pick. He's 27, making his big league debut. Not much more that you want to ask out of him.
Yeah.
Very late round pick. So we'll get what we can out of Montana.
Platt, had you heard much about this guy coming up, or he was just a guy coming up through the minors to you?
I've heard of him because me and Mitch used to talk about him all the time.
Okay.
Like whenever we're staying at the Pirate games, we'll be talking to the minors and Hayes and Keller. So
yeah,
I didn't follow him as much, but I knew of him and I knew that I like his stuff. So I mean,
yeah.
Like
so,
I said, he's 27. I mean, making his big league debut. There's not much more you can ask, but he looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, he spent time at every single level of the Pirates minor league system. I'm going to give a quick scouting report on both of these guys. So, Do Repo is a guy who, if he were ever to become a dominant closer in the big leagues, he would essentially be doing it the same way Trevor Hoffman did. His changeup is his best pitch, okay? And we saw that with one of his strikeouts today. It was really set up by the changeup. I'm not sure if the changeup was the punch-out pitch, but the fastball is kind of just there, extremely average. And then the changeup is just fabulous. He also throws breaking pitches, but they're kind of more average pitches that he just shows as a kind of to change the eye level, just show a different look, and the changeup is the pitch that he's going to lean on. He's a smart pitcher. He's looking to set up hitters, read swings, and everything like that. He's not somebody that's looking to just come in there and blow the ball by people. Chris Stratton, on the other hand, he's not a fireball either. We saw him. His fastball was sitting very similar velocities to what you'll see from Montana Do Repo, but he's a guy who is more of a long relief / starting pitcher. He could be a fifth starter in any given rotation if he's having a decent season. So his best pitch is actually his curveball. His slider plays average to above average, and he's got a ground ball sinker that he generally spots pretty well, but if he leaves it out over the plate, it's going to get hit a ton. So the idea is for him to do a little bit of pitching backwards here and there, and just try and generate ground balls, whether it's sinker slider. You're probably not going to see a lot of four-seamers upstairs from him, but you will probably see a little bit more of that from him now that he's a Pirate than ever before in his career, because they love the sinker-slider combo with the four-seam curveball combo to kind of offset each other and potentially generate swings and misses when the pitches are complementing each other. So that's the two new pitchers that the Pirates have, and both of them contributed to a win today. So
yeah, you know how I see Montana? An upgraded version of Tanner Anderson.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slightly upgraded, but all right. So our next topic is Brian Reynolds. We talked about him briefly earlier. He is filling in very nicely for Corey Dickerson, and I hope to see this guy in the big leagues for the rest of the year.
If he got sent down to the minors, I wouldn't be extremely upset.
It wouldn't be the end of the world, but
what about you, Platt?
It's kind of hard to be upset over that, but the way he's playing, man, he's got good plate discipline. He can field. Like today, he robbed that homer in the ninth. He looked like didn't put no effort, just jumped up and grabbed it.
Yeah,
I like him and Melky, but if Dickerson comes back and is healthy and it comes down to sending down one of the outfielders, it's probably going to be Reynolds.
Yeah. Reynolds, he replaces Dickerson very nicely because even though he hasn't been on fire at the plate recently, he started very nicely. Had a nice extra base hitting streak going, everything like that. He's only got one home run so far in the big leagues, and that's over just under 20 games, something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's not like he's hitting for a ton of power, and we kind of expected a bit more power from Corey Dickerson this year. But with the way he's defending, both nicely defending, adequately defending center field when Marte was out, and now looking like a potential Gold Glover in left field with Dickerson filling in for Dickerson, it kind of makes you miss him in the lineup when Melky is playing and Reynolds is not. So
yeah, I definitely like Reynolds. He's a guy who in the future, I was thinking about this earlier. Think of an outfield of Reynolds, Swaggerty, and maybe Polanco, possibly. Or
if Polanco's no longer here, then
J-Mart.
it would probably be Angel Cruz.
Yeah, and that's actually a very real possibility. So,
but that's a little ways down the road.
We have some
road.
depth,
Yeah.
though. We definitely have some depth.
Yeah.
And Angel Cruz, we saw him playing on the backfields. That guy is a monster. He's huge. He's very big for shortstop, which that might prove to
push him to the outfield.
Push him to the outfield at some point. All right, so our next topic and our final topic of the podcast is going over the Pirates' longest road stint of the season. So we go to Arizona, and then we go out to San Diego for 4. So let's go ahead and make our predictions. My predictions are going to be that we take 2 out of 3, so we take 2 out of 3 from the D-backs.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know if I should say split the series or take 3 out of 4 from the Padres.
I'm going 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I don't think that the Padres' pitching is very good. So let's see, 3 out of 2.
Yeah, so that
3 out of 4, and then
that will be
2 out of 3.
5 and 2.
Yeah, which that'd be fine with me, honestly.
Platt, what you got for that stretch?
I know I did say 13-6 on Twitter with that. I think we take 2 or 3 from Arizona. And I think we take 3 or 4 from San Diego, but I won't be surprised if we split.
Yeah, San Diego's offense can come at you in droves.
I like their offense, and they have a shutdown closer too. So I don't know. Like I said, I won't be upset if we split, but I'll be really happy if we take 3.
Well, hopefully we don't get to Yates, but yeah.
That's what I'm hoping, but I don't know who's gonna end up pitching for us. But
yeah, well, here's the
we'll
thing.
be all right.
Yates is kind of like Brebbia, who he was the guy who was victimized by the Pirates' offense today. But obviously, you don't want to have to face a guy who is that good. Say it's like a two-run deficit, maybe 3-run deficit. You don't want to face a guy who's that good with only 3 outs to work with. There's a little bit less pressure. And if you're dialing up the intensity, you got Josh Bell ready to hit rockets in the 7th inning versus like the 8th or 9th inning. But yeah, today worked out great. And I think what we'll see is some more of that. We'll see a lot of offense from the Pirates this week, provided they have a good week. And my prediction is 5 and 2. They're going to get some revenge against those Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And so we have you down for 4 and 3, Platt?
Yeah.
Which is it's solid.
Yeah.
Especially with all the injuries that we've been having.
If they come home, that's an 11-game road trip. If they come home after, say they go 4 and 3 this week, if they come home at 7-4 on an 11-game road trip. That's still very good. 4 games above 500, and hopefully some fans will show up and get them all fired up to play some home games. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and end on is when Chris Archer gets activated on Wednesday, who gets sent down? For me, it's Brault.
Platt.
Probably Brault.
I agree. We're kind of...
Hey, maybe Mitchell will tell us a couple hours earlier with all of his sources.
Yeah, he's got some good sources.
I do want to add one more thing, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
When Cole Tucker got called up, we saw his homer, and, everyone's all excited saying, the future's here, the future's here. He struggled at the plate, very bad.
Yeah.
He was striking out, I think, twice a game. He was looking bad. This series, though, he looked much more disciplined at the plate. Hopefully that continues. So, that's something to look forward to for him at least.
Yep.
Yeah. Could we have seen him develop some at the big league level and not need to go back to the minors? Hey, that would be best case scenario for him and for the Pirates, because just another good athlete to have on helping the team win games on a 25-man roster, because that's the key. All hands on deck with the 40-man, but 25-man roster, they're the guys that are out there every day. So,
yeah. All right, well, that's all that we have for today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast, Ryan. It was great to hear from you. And
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, June 1st.
Yeah.
Now, Platt, I know that you know what this is, but I'm about to get on to MLB The Show and play some OSFM version 2.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in year 2 with the Pirates.
Oh, are you? Okay. I'm going to start a new franchise and get up to date with all of that. But, yeah, thank you, everybody, for listening to episode number 11 of the Pirates Corner podcast. Thanks again, Ryan Platt, for joining us, and everybody have a great night.
Have a good one.